Much, Ingrid. I would specifically like to take advantage of this moment and thank you for helping us out in organizing this entire conference. Next, I would like to request Ms. Tanya Srivastav to please give her speech.
Greetings, everyone. So now let's talk about something that is the need of the hour, and if both the countries work towards the same harmoniously, then this can lead to an opportunity. Yes, I'm talking about trade. So as far as trade is concerned, there are two terms, multilateral and bilateral. So as the name suggests, multilateral means the trade relations between two or more countries, and bilateral is the relation between two countries. So when we talk about multilateral, India and Mexico are closely working together as both the countries are developing nations. So, and they are closely working together to promote the agenda of various global corporations, be it the South-South cooperation. South-South cooperation is basically the technological cooperation between the countries of the global South, and or be it the Indo-Pacific cooperation. So now talking about the bilateral trade, India and Mexico have successfully established a privileged partnership. In fact, in 2018, the bilateral trade between the two countries crossed more than $10 billion, which certainly shows a prominent increase in trade relations. Moreover, Mexico has been part of NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, since a very long time, which provides an opportunity to expand into large market of USA. Though this NAFTA has been suspended and USMCA has come into force, which is actually the result of US-China trade war tensions. Now, this provides India a great opportunity as it is the closest substitute of China in regards to technology and human capital. Now we know that both the countries are investor friendly, and there has been various MOUs signed between both the countries. The main of it was a CEO forum, which enabled the countries to focus on the areas which lacked on like the potential sectors. So it helped us to focus on that sectors. So yes, to sum it all, there has been a prominent increase in trade relations between the two countries. However, there's still the need to diversify and expand the trade relations. And also, various higher level group trade investment and economic cooperation dialogues are advancing. And these have helped in to promote our trade relations, focusing on the sector of pharmaceutical, agri-food, and healthcare sectors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. That was lovely. Now, I would like to request Mr. Pat Jaiswal to please come up and give a speech.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much, Aditi, and greetings, fellow delegates. So, I believe that right now tackling climate change is the need of the hour. Now, this statement was made quite literal. You know, when the New York metronome was modified to show the time that is remaining before climate change becomes irreversible. We can all clearly feel that it is hotter than usual right now. It is right, that end is right around the corner. So the world economies have adopted SDGs to tackle this change and restore the balance. But now I think it is high time that we start taking some concrete measures to tackle this issue. Mexico did just that when it issued a sovereign SDG bond, which was the first time that any country has taken such a step. Now, Mexico was able to raise, I think, $890 million from these bonds, and 267 private entities invested in it. These funds will go a long way in aiding Mexico in their FDG-oriented program. India has also launched several programs to achieve FDGs, like the Swachh Bharat Mission, Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, PM Jan Dhan Yojana, amongst others. This is an interesting fact that the World Bank had estimated that the world economy will shrink by 5.2% post this pandemic. I believe that two developing countries like Mexico, India should collaborate their progressive programs for an efficient attainment of SDGs. Both the countries can benefit vastly from each other, and multilateral collaborations between these developing nations is the way to go forward if we are to achieve SDGs before it's too late. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Parth. I love where this conversation is going, and everybody is putting up really, really important points. So, thank you so much for keeping it interesting. Next, I would like to request Mr. Eduardo Zobish to please come and give a speech.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. I'm going to focus in cultural tourism and World Heritage Sites. So India and Mexico are both countries that have a very long history and a tremendously rich cultural diversity, something that has certainly contributed to making them attractive for tourism. Several of the most visited places in both countries are archaeological sites like temples, palaces, and the ruins of ancient cities. Such is the case of sites like Teotihuacan and Chichen Itza in Mexico, and the Khajuraho group of monuments and the Champaner Pavadah Archaeological Park in India. In fact, both countries even have a similar amount of places that have been designated as World Heritage Sites by the UNESCO, with India having 38 and Mexico having 35. India and Mexico are, respectively, the sixth and seventh countries with the greatest number of World Heritage Sites. This fact has greatly contributed to both of our countries becoming world leaders in terms of cultural tourism, as they are every year visited by thousands of people desiring to learn more about their history and culture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. I would like to point out how everybody is speaking about different things. Somebody is talking about trade, somebody is talking about culture. So, I mean, yeah, that's very interesting and love the variation. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Regina Gonzalez to please come and give a speech.
Hi. Well, I'm also talking a little bit about culture. My name is Regina, and first of all, I would like to say that I'm extremely grateful to be participating in this forum, and I hope to learn from all of your inputs about the topic. I believe Mexico and India are similar since both countries feel like distant cousins. Both of our cultures are extremely welcoming and family driven. We believe that taking care of the people we love and be as welcoming as we can to the new people we meet. To share with the people we love, we are very fond of cooking, and both of our cuisines are highly reliant on spices. They make our food tasty and unique. We are also very spiritual since both of our countries are mostly religious and have strong ties with our religious beliefs and values. We have a very strong work ethic. Actually, Indians are rated as the hardest working country. And guess who the second one is? Exactly, it's Mexico. As a Mexican, I admire the cultural diversity that there is in India since you have thousands of different languages, different religions, and a population that is almost 10 times bigger than ours. I believe that we as Mexicans can learn a lot from India in regards to accepting diversity and coexisting with the people who are different from us. I'm astonished to see how these countries that are thousands of kilometers apart can be so similar. And taking into account all of our similarities, I hope that as the youth of both countries, we were able to celebrate our cultures and traditions and further strengthen our diplomatic relationships. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Regina. Thanks for pointing out that Indians and Mexicans are one of the most hardworking people across the world. Because, I mean, look at us, we're all working hard towards establishing a diplomatic sort of a conversation around this topic. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Khushbu Bansal to please come and give her speech.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So today I know two of my friends talked about biodiversity and climate change. So I would like to point out specifically about the blue economy. I would like to point out that the United States has taken this dedication to contribute to dedicate this decade for the ocean conservation. So firstly, talking about the facts on the adverse side of it. So according to the UNESCO report, it says that 80% of the marine pollution is because of the runoffs which are happening from the land. And if we talk about the Indian Ocean and the Mexican Ocean, so they are the most polluted oceans with around 2 billion plastic particles which are there inside. But also we should not forget that they have a large amount of biodiversity. Like the North Indian Ocean is among the list of the top 20 marine biodiversity hotspots. And if we talk about Mexico as well, so it has a long coastline and the various species of plants and animals which are present there. So both the countries have taken the initiatives on their individual levels for protecting the biodiversity, protecting the fisheries, preventing the pollutants from getting into the water, promoting the coastal tourism, and many more. But now the question arises is, we have seen that a lot of treaties and MOUs have been signed, like treaties and everything. But And I feel that these treaties and collaborations should carry on in the future because when we integrate the resources and we use the upgraded technology, so it is possible to conserve the biodiversity, protect our species. So that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khushbu, for putting forward views on biodiversity. Very interesting topic. Apparently, I'm finding everything interesting right now because this is great. Next, I would like to invite Miss Daniela Munoz to please come and give a speech. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning or good night. um, so, addressing one of the topics and focusing in Mexico, I'm going to talk about the culture aspect again. And I think that many of us have the false belief that in Mexico, culture is based in tacos, mariachis, parties, and that. But as a person who lives in Mexico, I can tell you that is not true. And that when I was researching, I have found that the most of the large food change are from other countries and especially from India, which in the food industry are the second of the world after China. And also with the difference in the use of the food, that in India is giving to food by not putting in added value on it. And by the other hand, from Mexico, the educational tourism is very important. And that's why we have many associations that are in charge of promote the culture and the education in Mexico, such as the AMTE, the SETAJ, and the MBA, and many others. And yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be here. And that's it.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful. Now, with this, we come to the end of the first batch of speakers, and I am really glad that all of you spoke in an amazing manner, wherein we were able to take the conversation ahead to something to very fruitful and points where we've had pretty significant conclusions out of it. So now I would like to request my fellow coordinator, Mr. Kash, to please start the question hour. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aditi, and thank you all the speakers that have spoken so far. Your points were really amazing. Like you covered everything from climate to trade, culture, and how can we link the cultures. And I think this is special in itself. Like the students are initiating it. Like we should be proud of ourselves that the students of both the countries have planned such a meeting, and we are discussing some very important things. So now let's start with the question hour. So guys, utilize this 30 minutes very wisely, and you are open to ask your questions to any not to anyone, but you can put your questions on the table and anyone can answer it. Either he or she is a Mexican student or an Indian student. And if you want to ask someone specifically regarding their speech, then you can name that person and you can include them. So let's start with the question hour. I request everyone to initially put your questions on the chat box, and if it's directed to a particular person for his or her particular speech, then you can mention the name also. Okay, is that clear? So let's start with this very interesting round where we'll be very open to answer, to question, to discuss, to argue. Okay, but yes, as it was mentioned in the rules, that please you please be candid and be free to speak anything, but at the same time be respectable to others. Okay, so let's start with the questions. I request everyone to put their questions on the chat box, and you have 1 minute for it. Okay, we have got our first question. Very interesting. But let's wait for more, and then we will pick. I'll try to cover maximum of them, whatever the time allows. So you can post as many questions you want. And I and Aditya are also prepared for some of very interesting questions for you. Okay, so first question by Fair. So very interesting question, guys. What do you think can be the cooperation of India and Mexico in space program, in space exploration? Like both the countries have very, developing space agencies, and what do you think is their future? What cooperation treaties can they sign? Like how can they develop mutually? Any answer from anyone? So who wants to participate in the question in this question of space? Who is the, astronaut between us?
Uh, Hello.
Yes, Tanya.
Yeah, so I would like to answer the like whatever I know about the space agency. So the two agency, ISRO and the Mexico Space Agency. So they from the past few years and now also they have come into collaborations and performed various workshops with each other, especially focusing on the technological aspect because India and Mexico and especially India, they are advanced in the technological aspect. So they have been performing various workshops. They have signed an MOU recently only in a bilateral high level trade program. So they have signed an MOU in space exploration, and they are performing the workshops and in which the senior members of the ISRO team and the Mexico Space Agency they have been championing the technical aspects of the space agencies. So they have been promoting the space exploration as of now, and they are looking at this aspect as of now.
Yes, and about the same, like workshops were definitely organized on effects of hydrometeorological phenomenon of cyclones, droughts,
Yeah.
floods, and forestry, right? And an MOU on space cooperation for peaceful purposes was signed between ISRO and AEM in October 2014 as well. So definitely, I mean, I feel like India and Mexico have done enough. Between their space agencies to bring forward cooperation of much significance through workshops and through really talking about stuff that matters.
Yes, thank you very much, Tanya and Aditi. Sorry, there was some network issues from my side. Okay, I want anyone to continue this discussion if they want to. Any other person who wants to add to the points that Tanya and Aditi have spoken.
Wait, can we have the person who asked the question give their opinion on this since
Yes,
they
absolutely.
yeah?
So, I'm just checking the name. Yes, yes.
Oh,
So Kibak, am I pronouncing it correct?
okay. So, well, I don't know a lot about the space program, but for starters, as far as I know, India is under the energy department, while us is more on the communications department. So it might be different. And honestly, I know not much about it. So yeah, I didn't know the high collaboration. I mean, it's logical, but I hadn't thought about it, and I didn't know. So I don't know. I find it interesting.
Okay,
The
very
well,
well.
for starters, were
Actually, we
were
all
the
found it very
inhabitants.
interesting, and I'm seeing that okay, you guys are not very interesting in as in studying history and civilization. So let me take you guys to where you belong, to diplomacy, to geopolitics. So I have a question for how can you forget Pacific when you're talking about diplomacy? So Parth has his question. India has been a champion of the principle of free and open Indo-Pacific. India also introduced Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative to strengthen maritime boundaries. Will Mexico collaborate with India on the same in the near future? Okay, good question. Who wants to share his or her thoughts with Parth and with the entire audience? So basically, if I reframe
Okay.
this question, what is the possible cooperation of India and Mexico in the Indo-Pacific region? Yes,
Okay,
yes,
I would
Khushbu,
like
please
to begin
answer.
the conversation on this one.
Yes, yes, yeah, please.
Yeah. So, okay, if we talk about the Indo-Pacific relations, so we see we already have very cordial relationships, but now the time has come when we move to more strategic relationships. Because Indo-Pacific area is like an emerging market, India is an emerging market, and this area has vibrant resources like aerospace, energy, and all the resources are available. So I think India and Mexico would go on for more treaties and more collaborations, so that the entire goal of the multilateralism and bilateralism that is achieved.
Okay, very nice, Khushbu. And who wants to add to this convo? Yes, guys, biggest ocean of our world, to the east of India and to the west of Mexico. How can we not talk about it? Please put forward your points.
Responding to what structural changes do you think that both countries, India and Mexico, needs to promote cultural exchange throughout the area of education? I consider it that we have to to believe that technological advance is important, as well the creation of training programs and programs to develop the soft skills in the students and to develop our technology in the school life. For example, Mexico, we have some hubs for the creation of startups with universities, and I consider that this is a great idea to promote this international exchange. Also, and for the other hand, I consider that if we can create these programs for all schools, we can promote new politics to promote in another aspects many changes. And this is part of a little base to a great structure to promote and to give these to others.
That's amazing, Brian. Absolutely, I agree with you to big extent. And okay,
I'd like
any
to
other?
add to this.
Yes, Parth.
Yeah, so I believe that any good initiative should be backed up by the sufficient amount of collaborations. So, like this IPO-OI was first introduced by our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, in the East Asian Summit in November 2020. So, like every initiative, this also comes with a fair set of challenges. For example, the first challenge for India will be to back this up with the adequate political will and resources at hand. So, if we can get a collaboration with a country like Mexico, then it will go a long way in implementing this program and actually strengthening our maritime boundaries.
Okay, any other point to the marine relations of India and Mexico? Any one of you wants to put your points or ask a leading question?
I would like to kind of answer a bit on the COVID vaccine type of topic, since here in Mexico there has also been a bit of a shortage on the COVID vaccine. And I believe that that is because a lot of European countries or countries that are the most developed have taken power of the vaccines. So I believe that in further relations, we should be more focused on the pharmaceutical area, since if we collaborate we can have a bit more of insight on how it is that we can create a vaccine and provide it just as well as India, Latin America, and not rely always on like the Western countries that will look always on their own benefit. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Reena. I think that was a very nice, change from diplomacy to a very important sector of both economies, that is pharmaceutical. And right now, we can talk about the COVID-19 vaccines. So, related to this, Khushbu has asked a question that Mexico has the 11th largest pharma market globally, and it contributed 70 million Mexican pesos in 2019. Still, we see that mostly is on import. What could be the reason for the same? What strategies could be adopted to attain self-sufficiency? Okay, so even adding to this, India also is, a very leading country in making the pharmaceutical, in the medicines and applying it globally. But still, major of our medical component, like what we say, um the chemicals or the elements that are used in making those vaccines, India is also importing the same. So I want this answer from any one of you to answer it for India or for Mexico, that what are these countries facing that still they are not able to sufficiency in in the production of medicines and basically in pharmaceutical sector. Yes, so who wants to put the points on pharmaceutical sector?
Karsh, can you repeat it again? I think your network is not that good. Can
Okay,
you?
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry for it. So
Or you
I
can
just
even send
quickly,
it in the chat box.
so Aditi and Rafal, the question I added one more line to the question that Khushbu was asked about the pharmaceutical sector, that India is also somewhat facing the same, so anyone can answer it for like what can be done for it.
I think we lack experts in the field of medical sciences here, so we can take the next question. Yeah.
Okay, let's take the next question. I'm waiting which question can arise the interest of all. Okay, that has an interesting question. I think this should have a heated debate here. How can India and Mexico cooperate in UN and other platforms to bring real changes in the United Nations Security Council and United Nations in general, which have been discussed from decades? Yeah. So, how can India and Mexico cooperate in international organizations? Like we all know that there have been, a long list of reforms in UNSC or in UNGA, but they have not been implemented because of certain reasons. So we can talk about the reasons here and how both these countries, take their stand and build partnership with other nations as well to, now, because now it's really high time. All the world leaders have made their statements about it, but still we are seeing no concrete actions. So what can we as a student or what can we as a student do or expect our government to do? Anyone can break the ice, sorry.
Okay, well, from the Mexican perspective, I believe that our governments are, they have good, well, no. our diplomats have very good intentions and they form part of different treaties and different things, but the government is not really incentivized to follow these types of treaties, and there's a lot of corruption. So I believe that Mexicans need to be well informed on what it is that Mexico is participating in so that we can actually like I don't know how to say, but like the government, we have to hold them accountable. And if we know what it is that we need to do, then we can hold them accountable and ask for what we need and not only what they can do or say.
Okay.
Adding to that, also there's a new term called reformed multilateralism. That also our Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi spoke about it in one of his speech. So it is actually basically that the members of any United Nations organization. So they have like if we talk about United Nations Security Council only, so they have the veto powers with them. So there's no democracy in when we talk about there's no democracy in decision making. So if we focus on decision making of the non-permanent and the permanent members, so that can lead to more democratization of the decision making, and also it will lead to more global corporations.
I think this is something that's been the talk of the UN since a long time, because the United Nations, the Permanent Security Council represents only a handful of countries, and the time that they were introduced and the time we live in, it has seen a long time. Many things have changed, and we have seen countries like India, they're in the site who are doing so many things, be it being a prominent leader, be it the time of COVID uh, pandemic as well. So I think we as a country, we can partner to raise our voices to make it to make a try to make it more democratized in the United Nations Security Council, and maybe we can collaborate in more ways to to get in more members in United Nations, Security Council for permanent members, or the one country we are selected on temporary basis, which is for 10-year terms. So this is the area where we can collaborate as well.
Yes, many good points from both Mexico and from and India. Okay, but still, I think Sumit, Tanya, and Reina, like we have been discussing this, many times. The world leaders have said it in the United Nations General Assembly, but I think there's something new to be done here. Like uh, the structure of the United Nations has to be changed according to me, and like it that the United Nations believe in equality of nations. It doesn't recognize nation on the basis of size or population, even resources. But I don't think that it is actually when you are in that you are in that organization, in that building. I don't think that every country is actually being uh, is actually seeing equality in everything. Like the biggest example is the United Nations Security Council. Like you see, I believe that Africa is such a big continent. We are here talking about India and Mexico, but see, Africa is such a big continent, and it is not having a single permanent seat in the UNSC. So, who will protect the rights of this continent, this entire region? Similarly, you can talk about Australia and even South America. So, I think these two continents, the southern part of our world, is completely vanished from the UNSC. So, um, absolutely, there is not a concrete answer with me also, like what can actually be done. We are not even to that stage where we can actually make a reform happen. We can make the policies, but yes, we can raise our voice, like with all the powers we have. I think we have to, like, we are making climate change a very big we have been successful in portraying climate change as a big topic to the world leaders, which at one time they were not ready to believe. Many of the world leaders were not believing that climate change is really a problem, but I think the youth of the world has helped in making it a big issue. So similar things can be done by the youth of our countries and the rest of the world to do this for an organization like United Nations also. So sorry for speaking too much. Any other person who wants to add
I
their
think
point?
I agree with Regina's point a little bit more. I'm just gonna give a little bit of a rebuttal here because
Yes,
I
Rafal.
mean, changing the structure of the UN, which has been here for years, is I think a bit of a stretch. While we can curb our own government from doing corruptions, that is a big issue. And curbing corruptions is going to be the big step for for any country. Just look at let's just look at the statistics a little bit. Any and every state, or like any politician who comes into power, who keeps a check on corruption. There are a lot of examples here in India as well. But because of my limited knowledge, I won't be able to quote one from Mexico, and I hope one of our Mexican students can maybe quote the example for me. But I think if since the diplomats are always in a good view, but then our governments, they don't do the same. So if we want, of course, there's that thing of having a majority in the UNSC and all of that. So having the same focus both between Mexico and India, if we have like the same focus, then that is going to be a big thing, because then we can work towards that thing. So of course, partnership, I think, is the big thing, which we are doing right now. We're in a way having a partnership here. So yes, a lot of unity both for both countries is required. But I think I could have worded that a little bit better. But yeah, we can move on to the next question now.
Thank you very much, Rafael. So yes, anyone else who wants to join the conversation, or shall we move to
Yes, I
the?
would say
Yes, Satyam.
that I somewhat agree to Rafael that before going internationally, we have to sort our internal issues first, like corruption being the first priority of both the countries, because then only equal opportunity can be provided and we can follow what our diplomats say. And then talking about internationally, only we have seen since ages that developed countries have been exploiting the developing countries through either trade or some other factors. And then if all the see basically if India and Mexico work together along with other developing countries, they bring together maybe, as Kurt said, mentioned that the continent of Africa or Australia, we can take countries from there, then we can seriously cause a difference. As we have earlier also worked together, both India and Mexico, during the period of Cold War, if I recall, they worked together as members of UN, as members of G77 and G15 as well. So we can do that once again.
Seconded. Gosh, I think we can move on.
I would like. Okay, Rafael. Let's take the next question. Okay, Aditi, can you please tell me how far can we extend the first question hour?
I guess we should end it here because we've taken pretty much a lot of questions and we've covered a lot of
Okay.
topics. So,
Yeah.
rest of the questions we can definitely take in the next question hour.
Yeah, there are many interesting questions right now also on the chat box. They're very, very interesting. So obviously it's not the last question hour. So I also request everyone who have written the questions to please copy paste it to somewhere else in case I lost them, or I already lost them. Okay, so you can write it again. So okay, let's move to the second set of speakers for our conference today. Give me a few seconds to open the list.
Right.
Yes,
Uh,
Aditi.
so by the time you're opening the list, I would like to tell everybody that in case you have an answer or you have an opinion on any of the questions given in the chat box, you can also write your opinion on the chat box while everybody else is speaking. So yeah, and you can hear everybody else's speeches as well, who are going to speak in the next batch, and you can direct questions to them as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just 10 more seconds I'll need.
Anyway, but I feel that it was a great question hour and a lot of opinions and perspectives came forward. So thank you so much for being so active about each and every question that was put forward, except for the pharmaceutical one. We'll try and do better at that.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, so let's start with the second round of speakers. First, I'd like to call Madhumita Kumari.
Thank you, Karsh. So let's begin. Mexico and India have a common goal in social development, and both countries have long and intriguing history. To accomplish this, both the countries are determined to promote trade and investment sectors, uh, improving market access, including agriculture products, promote tourism, and have fostered cooperation in many fields, including science, energy, and technology. Mexico has become India's top trading partners in Latin America, and it is top investors from India. While India is now the now in India is in the list of Mexico in top 10 commercial partner. Tourism is also growing sector which brings our people together. We share the pride of being the ancient and rich civilization. In 2018, Mexico attracted 16 billion international tourists. And if we compare the previous data, which is 6% more than the previous year. So according to WETO, Mexico is in the top 5 countries in the list of most visited in the world, and it is proud home of UNESCO World, and it is home of proud World Heritage Site. And the most relevant thing is that India is in the list of top most visitor to Mexico. So to increase cultural exchange, I think we need to focus on educational tour in which students from the both the nations can visit each countries, and to get a better idea of their cultural exchange. And Mexico is a significant provider of oil and its derivative to India, and it's also moving towards clean energies, clean energies including solar energies and other renewable source of energies. And Mexico also become the member of International Solar Alliance. That was an initiative by India's Prime Minister, which was launched by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to combat climate change. I think both the nations have similar concerns while combating issues like climate change or having international agendas like peace and security. And both the nations are striving to have a better communication to work together for effective results. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madhumita. So, firstly, I want to ask that what is the alarm sound comfortable to all for 1 minute and 2 minutes? Anyone?
If you just can decrease the volume of the alarm, because it was like
Okay, is it
very.
okay? Is it okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was better.
Okay, okay. Okay, so the next speaker of this round is Carol Ochoa.
Hi everyone. I would like to talk about COVID-19. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I
Carol,
would,
carry on.
okay, thank you. I would like to talk about COVID-19 vaccination. In the face of vaccine hoarding, India's role in the distribution and production of them seems to be crucial. First, India's Serum Institute is the world's largest vaccine producer by volume. The Indian policy known as Vaccine Made aims to provide vaccines manufactured in India to other countries in the world. Many poor and moderately developed countries have bought and received the significant donations of vaccines thanks to this novel policy. That is the case with the shipment of almost 900,000 doses of vaccines from India to Mexico in the framework of Valentine's Day. This has undoubtedly been a gesture that has reinforced Mexico's relations with India. Therefore, it is not surprising that health authorities in Mexico are evaluating the possible authorization for the use of the Indian vaccine called Covaxin in the National Vaccination Program. Also, Mexico agreed to stop receiving Pfizer vaccines on a couple of occasions so that the company could place it in poor countries. I welcome the fact that Mexico and India continue to opt for mechanisms, policies, and agreements that guarantee an equitable distribution of vaccines. And while this is an opportunity to bring together two nations that share similar circumstances in more than one aspect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. Absolutely a very important topic of COVID-19. And yes, so after Carol, we have Harsh Singh with us to put his views. Harsh.
Hello everyone, thank you Karsh for giving opportunity. Now my topic is pharmaceutical industry. Pharmaceutical industry plays a very important role in the any economy of any country. It also helps us to boost the country economy. Demand of medicine in the both of the countries are the high demand because of the increase in the population. Uh, Now India is the largest provider of the generic medicine globally. India also ranks third worldwide for the producer of volume, matlab in the volume. And as per the reports, the worth of the Mexican pharmaceutical industry was $10.6 billion, and it is the second largest after the Brazil in the Latin America region. Many pharmaceutical companies have already relocated to the area because they are attracted by the lower salaries and the construction costs. And my one friend also said about Regina, like they are the second hardest person and labors also, workforce also. The company's letters of the intent would be for them preferential treatment in the pre-recruitment of medicines, as well as streamlined registrations and export regulation also taken. Many big Indian pharma countries set up the large production clusters and to improve the logistics in the Mexico. Like there's a Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, Glenmark, and the Torrent Pharmaceuticals, etc. There's so many Indian pharmaceuticals companies who set up plants in Mexico. And now, with the US Mexico Canada Agreement, USMCA, now in place, Mexico based manufacturers can put their worries about NAFTA recognition and changing content requirements to rest. Thank you so much.
So Harsh, I was really glad that why didn't you answer the question that we had in chat box regarding pharmaceutical? You have done an in-depth research about pharmaceutical, absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
So
because
I hope that we will
there is
see
a problem in my network that I will answer. Yeah. Hello, Karsh. I will answer them in the question hour.
I mean,
I'm audible.
hello,
Yes, Karsh, you're audible.
hello, am I audible now? Oh, extremely sorry. I think no, now it's okay. So, okay, Harsh, thank you. It's a very nice speech on a very important sector. Now we have Diego Meneses with us.
Thank you, Karsh. Greetings, everyone. It is a relationship with years of history. Mexico was the first country in Latin America, as was already mentioned, to recognize India as an independent country. Now we are celebrating 70 years of very solid relationship, friendship, mutual understanding, etc. Mexico is India's second commercial partner in the American continent, only behind the US. More than 200 companies have invested here in many sectors. However, the area that I will mention that has a great opportunity in this case for Mexico is the pharmaceutical sector, as my colleague mentioned here. The pharmaceutical industry in India was valued at $33 billion in 2017, making India the largest provider of generic medicines globally, according to the Department of Pharmaceuticals of the country. If there is something that the COVID-19 pandemic has clearly illustrated, at least here, it is the financial pressure and the public budget. It is so evident for the country, in this case for Mexico, and it requires easier access to affordable medicines for the population. That is why it is a great area of opportunity for Mexico, that India is the world's largest exporter of high quality generic drug. A strategy that should be considered by Mexico, and specifically the regulatory agency called COFEPRIS here, is the reviewing of the process of buying and importing medicines. Currently, it takes a long time and it is not as effective. It is needed a way to simplify the process without sacrificing quality and safety, and accelerate this registration here in Mexico. However, the future of the relationship seems prosperous and tight, considering that India will be the country with the largest market in the world by 2050. With this, the Mexico-India relationship is expected to endure and prosper to generate growth opportunities in several areas. So, thank you all.
Thank you very much, Diego. I analyze you very optimistic about the relations between both the countries, and that was really very good. So after Diego, we have Daniela Corte with us. I think Danielle is not in the meeting. Okay, so if she comes later, we'll have her speech later. So now I'd like to welcome Saksham.
Hey everyone. So there's a saying that nothing brings people together like good food. When we talk about food of both the countries, there are a lot of similarities. Our meals are not complete without tortilla. Difference being that in Mexico, you guys use more of corn, while in India, we use more of wheat. Corn is rare in India, but still there is a dish called makki di roti, which is an integral part of Punjabi cuisine and is consumed in northern India, especially during winter. Similar to your Mexican burritos, we have our kathi rolls, which are filled with meat, vegetables, and spices. Spices of both Indian and Mexican food are somewhat similar to each other and are prepared traditionally using a stone grinder. This makes things even difficult to differentiate between the two cuisines. Maybe a Mexican or an Indian can find some differences, but if you ask a person from a third country, he'll hardly able to find any, as most of our dishes are somewhat similar, if not exactly somewhat similar to each other, like Mexican mole or Indian curry, Mexican salsas and Indian chutneys, Mexican totopos and Indian papad, Mexican gorditas and Indian paranthas, and Mexican rice and Indian pulao. Both of us prefer the food a bit spicier and are also famous for our street food. We all are aware that India and Mexico are countries with large coastlines, and therefore seafood is consumed highly in these coastal areas. Many people call it just a coincidence, while many believe that our ancestors took long years ago took these spices and ingredients from Asia to America. But what they did back then can be used to expand the business of franchisees right now. Like for an example, if an Indian person who likes kathi rolls is surely gonna like Mexican burritos, while a Mexican person who likes Mexican salsas will be fond of Indian chutney. This similarity will help to increase the demand of Mexican food in India and Indian food in Mexico, and therefore the franchisees can take the advantage and avail this opportunity and make most of it. Thank you.
Okay, so at 10:30 p.m. approximately, according to Indian Standard Time, Saksham gave his 2 minute speech and reminded us of so many tasty dishes and like I'm really getting a little hungry now. And yes, Saksham, while you were speaking, I really realized that yes, the cuisine of India and Mexico are really very related. And I myself is really a fan of Mexican food, to be very, very honest. Like if I have to prioritize something outside my Indian food, the Mexican food will be on top. So yes, the food that both the countries have in their list is really very much relatable. And thank you, Saksham, for pointing all these things out. Thank you. So after Saksham, we have Rodrigo Garcia with us.
Hi, good morning, and thank you all for being here. And mainly thanks Eduardo for sending the invitation to myself. I'm really happy to be here. Since the establishment of the diplomatic ties in 1950, the relationship between Mexico and India have only become stronger. Through the past 5 years, Mexico has become India's largest trade partner in Latin America, with a growth of 22% rate in the bilateral trade during the period of 2018-2019, meaning an approximately $10.15 billion. And from Mexican perspective, an increase from the 10th to the ninth place in the ranking of global trade partners of Mexico. And in order to improve and facilitate the trading relationship between the two countries, the India-Mexico Chamber was created in 2019. That it's for the ones that don't know, I will really recommend this Center for Information. The geopolitical position in which the two countries are, it's quite enviable. Because of the 29 coastal states that India has, the access to the Pacific Ocean grants it the opportunity of controlling one of the most important strategic docks in the region, which is Mumbai, that accesses the 20% of all the import-export. However, the same cannot be said about Mexico. With the privilege of having access to both the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans, Mexico has a lot to learn from India. With the implementation of the blue economy policy, the Ministry of Earth and Science has the ambitious goal of not only exploiting the natural resources in a sustained way, but also to protect the coastal sites and preserve the marine biodiversity of the country. This policy shows not only the commitment to increase the economic growth and the welfare of the population, but also to protect the environment in the process, which is something that Mexico could really use in moments like this. The focus of improving the welfare as well as the environment should be something that must be the top priority for all countries, not only Mexico and India. So I'm really happy that the relations between the two countries are headed towards a more environmental friendly and to improve the situation of the development goals of the United Nations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rodrigo. Actually, the speech was really very well composed. You mentioned very, a variety of things, and it was amazing to hear you. So now we have Karthik Serra with us.
Yeah, greetings everyone. I'll be discussing on the topic trade and relationship between the countries and take a bit of a futuristic approach. So I'll begin by saying that Mexico and India are both strong trading and investment partners. Mexico is the largest Latin American investor in India, and I believe both the countries are willing to build on that relationship. So, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's brief visit to Mexico in June 2016 imparted new beginnings. The blueprint for a strategic partnership is in the works. Bilateral trade has surpassed a $10 million mark, with Mexico emerging as the biggest trading partner of India in Latin America. Big ticket companies of both the countries have a stake in the relationship. There has been an increased investment flows, growth in tourism, cooperation in science and technologies, space, aerospace, energy, environment, and digital innovation, which are all indicators of a healthy relationship. So we can surely say that India and Mexico are in a good place. However, this is no time for self-approbation. The two countries have much more to achieve. As fellow non-permanent members of the UN Security Council, as well as proactive members of G20, India and Mexico need to intensify their mutual dialogue and cooperation on how to overcome the current weakening and impasse the multilateral system. the two capitals could hold an exclusive discussion on India's concept of reformed multilateralism, as stated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, to maximize both the countries' participation in the multilateral system. Long used to viewing each other through the Atlantic European prism, in Mexico and India could develop a new strategy anchored on the cooperation across the Pacific. Recent aggravating US-China tensions are a source of concern for both the countries. However, business stakeholders have been moving on the right path, but they need to factor in the setbacks caused by COVID-19 pandemic and cooperate for a better to expand the economic relationship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karthike, for such valuable points. Now, uh, the stage is open for Brandon Escamilla.
Hello, everyone. I would like to talk about something that already has been talking. Well, in Mexico, always is trying to find new markets to diversify our trade balance, because we depend a lot of the United States. And when we try to find a new country to have more trade, we usually think in China or in a country of the European Union, but we should try to look in India, because there are, for me, three important points that we have to consider in India. The first one is about the population, because India is the second country with the major population in the world and is expected to overtake China. And so that's a very important fact that we should consider. The second one is about the economical growth, because in 2018, India had a rate of more than 7%, and it's estimated that will remain this growth. So if everything is in the way is going, India will become in the very short time in the fifth largest economy in the world. And finally, the third point that I would like to say is that the per capita income is very low in India, but it has become higher. It's very interesting that India has grown in terms of economical. Well, I don't know how to explain very well, but yes, and that's a very important fact. And so, as already said my partner, India has become in the most important alliance in Latin America, over Canada and Brazil. And so I think it's very important that we could have a very good relations in terms of trade. And yeah, that's all.
Thank you very much, Brandon. Some very important points you highlighted of India's interest in Latin America and the population problems that India is facing, which has to be resolved when for India also and for the world also. Okay, so now we have Sumit Raj with us to present his points. His speech, sorry.
Hola, Mexican friends, sitting across the 1,000 miles, but still, we're here connected with by internet. So, my friends and fellow mates were speaking across different reasons, my edition is going to be no different. I'm going to just add to and touch upon another topic as well. So, like every country these days, like we're facing multiple challenges, and the tackling with carbon emissions is one of the major challenges that every nation is facing, and from the India and Mexico are no different. Every country is thinking and coming up with all sort of innovation that they could come up to reduce their carbon footprints in one or other ways. India has been in recent times a eminent leader in that area, and is one of the fastest country to bank upon all the renewable energies, and it's just behind Chile in that. in that order. China used to be on the top list, but now it's on the seventh list. And our country, in its specific, our prime minister has been very specific about taking upon these renewable energy things. He's come across several schemes in his recent world. In recent world, one of the major schemes that we had is our country came up on with this mega solar project that came with the 750 megawatts in Reva in Madhya Pradesh in India. And His Highness Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, the President of Mexico, has no different views with it. When he came in power in 2018, in one of his first speeches, he made it very clear that how optimistic he has been. And Mexico too. Mexico has seen, the renewable energy count going from 20 plus percent to 30 plus percent in just 1 year between difference of 2019 and 2020. So it's been very evident that both the countries are very particular and very banking upon this renewable energy. So I think in near future it won't be really a big surprise when we see the exchange of technologies between these two countries to come upon with renewable energies and making it even buying upon it more and cutting down their carbon emissions. So I hope it say it even more in very different way, and we'll come up with more collaborations in that area. So it will be quite nice to with things like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sumit. You highlighted a very important topic, and hopefully, both the countries in the near future will be more serious towards it with some good solutions. Okay, after Sumit, we have Sarthak Garoda with us.
Okay, hello and namaste everyone. I hope you all are doing good. So, I want to talk about the tourism and cultural exchange between both the countries. The tourists in Mexico from India and in India from Mexico are increasing since the last decade. And in 2016, Mexico witnessed 64,000 Indian tourists. And before the pandemic, Mexico was planning to attract 200,000 Indian visitors by 2022. Uh, it was also seen that before the pandemic, outbound tourism from India was expected to grow about 50 million, and Mexico was hoping to target 4% of this market. I think tourism is a great way through which the citizens of both the countries can experience each other's culture. Apart from tourism, the ways to promote the culture, both India and Mexico should organize each other festival. They can promote the sending and receiving of cultural troops. They can also hold exhibitions and of conferences and seminars both in India and in Mexico. One way to promote the culture is to provide a platform for upcoming artists of one country to present their talent in other country, and it can really help the citizen of both the nations to understand each other's culture. Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Center is functioning in Mexico since October 2010, and it is the cultural arm of the Embassy of India in Mexico. And it plays a very important role in promotion of the Indian culture in Mexico by teaching yoga, classical music, and other Indian art. Development of more centers like this in both the countries can be a great way to learn about each other culture and how the countries work. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarthak. I think it was a very important point to highlight of tourism when we talk about the culture promotion of both the countries. I think tourism, educational tourism, and medical tourism and other tourism is very important. It plays a very important in building strong relationship. And okay, after Sarthak, I want to invite Aryan to us as well.
Greetings, everyone. So, I'm going to talk about the old trade policies of Mexico, that is the NAFTA, and the new trade policy, that is USMCA. So, the United States Mexico Canada Agreement is a updated version of a nearly 25-year-old $1 trillion North America Free Trade Agreement. It includes major changes on cars and new policies on labors and environmental standards, intellectual property protection, and some digital trade provisions. The USMCA was a need of an hour. The NAFTA was much too old of the 90s and paid little heed to the way of the modern world. I would like to start by pointing out of the addition to the digital trade norms in the new agreement. Secondly, the labor laws have improved drastically and curbed the labor exploitation. Lastly, the USMCA would prove to be a very positive, impactful towards the environment, considering that they have provided with $600 million provision. Ending, I would like to say that USMCA is such a awaited policy, and we are all glad that it's here. Humorously, I would also like to add that I hope that our Indian labor workers are not too enticed with the new trade deal and migrate to Mexico to find work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aryan, for your valuable points. Okay, so now the time has come for the final speaker of some people's night and some people's morning. So we have Karthik Gupta with us.
Hello, everyone. So, as we all know, India's political relations with Mexico have always been very warm and cordial. India and Mexico are emerging economies with similar development priorities, which has meant that there is a lot of scope for further political economic ties. Mexico is currently India's largest trading partner in Latin America. In 2018-19, it has accounted for almost a quarter of India's trade with the region. At the same time, India is currently Mexico's ninth most important global trading partner. The last decade has seen a spurt in trade between the two countries, which has grown from around $5 billion in 2015-16 to $9.4 billion in 2018-19. Crude oil dominates India's imports from Mexico. It also imports electrical goods and machinery, electronic equipment, and auto parts. Indian companies have so far invested around $3 billion in Mexico. A large number of Indian information technology and pharmaceutical companies have set up joint ventures in Mexico. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a surge in the cooperation in the pharmaceutical sector. In the July 2020, Indian pharma company Zydus Cadila received approval from the Mexican Regulatory Authority for clinical trials of the biological therapy pegylated interferon alpha-2b for treatment of COVID-19 with a research organization based in the country. Other potential areas of economic cooperation are agriculture, biotechnology, and energy. However, Mexico and India have had different viewpoints on the issue of nuclear non-proliferation. During Prime Minister Modi's 2016 visit, Mexico pledged support for India's bid to be part of nuclear suppliers group (NSG). This was primarily in recognition of India's commitment to the international agenda of disarmament and non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. While the NSG membership still eludes India, the Prime Minister's visit helped in tempering Mexico's concerns on the issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karthike. So with this, the the speeches have come to an end, and every one of you, either from India or from Mexico, have spoken different points, important points, and the points not just included facts, they included solutions, opinions, and it was really amazing to listen all of you. And I personally enjoyed these 1.5 hours very much, listening to all your points, listening to different views. And thank you very much, everyone, for putting forward your points and and just enlightening us with what you think about both the countries, the relationship of both the countries. So, with this, the story doesn't end. Now, we move to the final question round, in which I expect very, excitement as compared to the last questionnaire round. I I expect all of you to be, like I don't need to ask you to answer a particular question. You should be very eager to talk about it. Like you all have covered very good points in the speeches that that you have given. But this questionnaire round provides you the platform now to ask questions to your fellows and see what they have to answer what they have to answer to your question. And you can also you know like if you don't agree with someone, you can show it very clearly. And I think you can all can make collectively it a very interesting round. So now let's start with it. Okay, give me a few seconds. So what do you want? Do you want to? Okay, so yes, as expected, I've lost all the question because I was disconnected for few seconds. So can you all please resend me the questions that you have written earlier? So I'll read them out and we'll see which question is arising. More supporters, more people want to discuss about it, and we will go with it. So I want you guys to please again post your questions that were were not discussed. Okay, very fast. This question is a very good question and one of my favorite. How can both the countries change policies and law for conservation of biodiversity? Okay, let's stick to this question first. Who wants to go first? Who wants to talk about this topic? What policies and structural changes should be adopted by both India and Mexico to preserve the biodiversity of both the nations? Yes, anyone? Okay, so if no one is interesting, I'd like to ask Madhumita to share her views about biodiversity conservation.
So thank you, Karsh. First of all, I would like to mention that we have to decrease the threat that causing the destruction of a biodiversity. It's not because we are facing some environmental issues. No, no, it's actually disturbing our whole ecosystem because biodiversity plays a very important role when it comes to ecosystem and yeah. So first of all, I would like to suggest some ways. The first one would be key. We have to decrease deforestation, as we know that with urban development, there are like deforestation is is continuous in India or in Mexico. So and second point is that key that biodiversity hotspots in India as well as Mexico, we need to conserve them. We need to conserve the endangered species that are going to extinct in upcoming futures. Yeah, so from my side, these are the points.
Thank you very much, Madhumita. Who wants to add to it?
I would like to give my
Yes,
opinion about that.
yes, please,
Um,
please.
while doing my research, I learned that India has a lot of treaties for protect biodiversity, like the Treaty of 1972. But in the case of Mexico, this is not like that. So in Mexico, we need more treaties and more laws, and also to unfortunately here is a lot of corruption. So some people will not will prefer their economical interests um, and well yes, they would like to protect their economic interests and not the animals. And there is a lot of these issues currently here in Mexico, more in the south part. And well, we have to do something because there are a lot of endangered species here in our country. And also, I would like to point out the Convention on Biodiversity of the UN of 1992, which has a lot of mechanisms for many countries to protect the biodiversity. But here in Mexico, this is a big issue. I think we have to do more. I think social society is more aware of this issue, but the government is not doing enough to protect the species. So yeah, I think there is a lot of opportunity for cooperation between India and Mexico about this issue.
And want to
Yes,
add
Madhumita.
and I want to add one thing, just what she said, that more than the changing some making change in laws and policy, we have to focus on the its implementation in actually if laws and policies are implemented in a very well manner, then we can see the result in upcoming future. So yeah, so for we have to come up with very pragmatic laws and policy that we can implement in for our protection of our biodiversity. Thank you.
Both Andrees and Madhumita highlighted some of the points that we really miss, like, you know, prioritizing economic development rather than protecting the wildlife. Even though we don't understand that, there can't be any economic growth without wildlife. Okay, you're talking about policies and changes in the law. I want to highlight something that we often miss. Like, I believe that if you want to conserve the biodiversity of the entire planet, then it can't be just the government. It has to be the people, and there has to be a belief in people that yes, humans are responsible for whatever has happened to the loss of biodiversity. Of course, there have been natural reasons also for vanishing of biodiversity, but yes, majority of them were because of humans, be it like deforestation or poaching of animals, or and land degradation, etc. I believe that we often use this word humanity. We use this word for humans, for our for like we say that humans have certain rights, and that we define with the word humanity. What I believe is that humanity should also include the element of protecting and protecting and preserving the things around us, the things that belong to nature. That should also be included in humanity. So why do we always ignore the fact that we humans are responsible for upholding everything that belongs to this nature? Like, we have that kind of mind. The nature has created our mind in such a way that we can either destroy the nature that we have, or we can protect it. So I think it's completely upon us where in which direction we want to go. Of course, we need policies, we need laws, but their implementation comes from a belief, and that belief has to come from us people. So that's all. Anyone else who wants to add to this point, who wants to discuss what policies can be you know structured, what can Mexico specifically adopt, and what can India try and experiment? Like, for an example, we have been very successful in conserving the biggest cat of the world, tiger, and other than that, there have been other endangered species that we have conserved in the past. So what extra can we do to it now, since since if I dig a little deeper, like, we have created many wildlife sanctuaries and national parks, but now the problem has started outside that national park. The human and wildlife conflict are increasing outside the national parks. So how can we deal with it? How can we reduce the deforestation? You see, there are so many coal mines running around in national parks, which are threatening the natural habitat of animals. So how can we stop it? Please, can someone do someone want to add to this?
I'd like to add something.
Yes, Parth.
We have seen like India has taken a lot of steps and to preserve its biodiversity, and like we have done surveys, we have done threat assessment and whatnot. But I think like we should India have done one thing, like it launched Project Tiger and Project Elephant. Like these are two of the main animals which are found in India. So in order to preserve them, they launched two specific projects, and we all know what a huge success Project Tiger was. Like from the jaws of extinction, tigers are now back to life in India. So India also launched the Biological Diversity Act in 2002, which has also been working towards this. So I think that maybe we should focus rather than launching general acts. We should focus more on launching some specific acts so that we can some targeted acts and policies so that we can better implement them.
And I want to add one more point, that when we talk about biodiversity conservation, we shouldn't forget about the movement that has happened in our histories, like Chipko movement, which plays very important role in saving our trees. Like, the main reason that is the ecosystem is disbalancing is deforestation, and we as a youth have a responsibility to increase awareness among our our society, and we have to be make them aware that how it is creating harm to our environment. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhumita. Thank you, Parth. So nobody else wants to join this discussion. I think we have talked about Mexico and India, but the same policies can also be, expanded at a global level also. Like, I think the United Nations Environment Program and even other institutes like WWF, they can, they should be given a little more authority to interfere in the government policies of all the countries if we really want to preserve the biodiversity. Otherwise, all the countries, especially the governments, will, prioritize their interests, and they will somewhat forget um, what a problem we are creating for ourselves. But in this aspect, international organizations can really play a vital role. But yes, it is important that their suggestions, their rules are really implemented. Okay, so I think we should move to the next question. So Saksham is
Harsh,
asking,
can we wrap this up soon, because I'm
yes,
pretty
sir.
sure everyone has this the weekend parties to go to and stuff like that. So we can wrap this up. We've already crossed the 1 hour 50-minute mark, I think. Right? So
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
okay.
Sorry, Rafal, I couldn't hear you at the last. Can you
One
please
last
repeat?
question. One last question. We have exceeded the 1 hour 50-minute mark. Let's not go more than two. One last question and then we're done. One last question and one last answer.
Okay. Okay, one last question. Okay. So, okay, I'll pick Sarthik's question then, if it has to be the last. What structural changes do you think that both the countries, India and Mexico, need to promote for cultural exchange through the area of education? So the last question has come relating, somewhat related to us, the youth. So how can education be a tool to promote culture between India and Mexico?
I believe that there needs to be a more an education focused more on traditions in our own countries instead of sometimes looking at other countries' version of history, since that can kind of antagonize our own culture. And if we look at our cultures and our diversities in a positive way, then this will increase like the importance people give it and the need they have to protect it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Raina. With this, I think we conclude this. Yeah, this was a very good question around. So we have discussed a lot of things. We have covered many important sectors of our economy. We have covered climate change. At the end, we also talked about the importance of biodiversity and what policy changes does it need to conserve. Does we need to conserve it? We talked about ocean economy and education, tourism, food, culture, and many things. And as I highlighted earlier, they were not just facts; they were very amazing and unique opinions also. So with this was very very enlightening chat which we all had, and thank you very much everyone for joining us. And now I would like to welcome Sophia to give a final vote of thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much, Karsh. With that perfect last section, we come towards the end of this insightful and brainstorming session of the discussion on Indo-Mexican relations. On the behalf of entire team of a finance and investment cell of Aryabhat College and the India-Mexico Youth Forum Global Youth, I humbly thank you all for joining us today and making possible this fruitful exchange of thoughts, ideas, and opinions on a cross-cultural and international scale. I express profound gratitude towards our audience for facilitating and working in synergy with us successfully conduct and pull off this event. I hope each one of us present here gained certain new perspectives and added more to their existing knowledge on the subject matter, and that Team FIC, along with the Mexico India Youth Forum, has been successful in organizing an evening full of free and discerning exchange of thoughts and opinions between the youth of the two nations. Lastly, I believe that all of us today here took a step further in augmenting and strengthening the Indian Mexican relations and made a few new friends. At last, for my Indian friends, thank you for sparing your time and joining us. As for my Mexican fellows, muchas gracias. Thank you.